Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you had a great holidays. I know I sure did. It was nice to take some time off of school and go home and see some of the family, but bringing you another game today. This game, I'm sitting here with my 3-month-old too, so you might get a little commentary from him as well. Hopefully no crying though. But today's game was a training game that I've played. I've started playing more rapid games, so the 10 plus 0 and 15 plus 10 time control. And this was a nice game. My rating's gone up over the break. I'm closer to 1800 now. This game was played at the 1770 level, so I broke 1800, but still not quite there. Anyways, I hope you enjoy this game. We're going to go over some of my thoughts while I was playing, and let's get right into it. As most of you know, I'm an e4 player, and he plays the Sicilian, so I've played quite a bit of King's Gambit lines as well. And I've really just started liking this f4 move. It creates this diagonal weakness on the king side, but I found quite a few attacking chances coming out of it, especially if I can castle early and either tuck my king safely onto g1 or castle queen side. I found it hasn't hurt me yet, so we'll see the higher I climb if people start to hurt me or not. The Taimanov variation of the Sicilian, named after Russian Grandmaster Mark Taimanov. Standard stuff here, g3, f6, f3, f6, and then c3. And then this was a weird move. Didn't really know what to think of it, so I just went along with my plan. Here I remember I pre-moved knight captures pawn because this is pretty standard. But then he played this move, which probably should have seen coming. b6 is pretty indicative that he wants to fianchetto the bishop, but it didn't really make sense to me. The threat here is that he's attacking my e-pawn twice, and I only have it defended once. So I sat here and I thought for a couple minutes, and I went over a couple of moves. My first instinct was to play e5. Another move I thought of was d2, as well as f3. And I calculated all these moves as far as I could. E2, queen d1 to e2 seems like a nice move, right? Because you're defending twice, but you're blocking in your light squared bishop, so I didn't find that very favorable. Moving the light squared bishop out also didn't seem very good to me, because after it takes, he's winning this pawn again if he can pin my knight to my king, right? So if I were to play this move right here, we would have takes, pin, and then moving my queen here would probably be okay because he's threatening twice again, and since this piece is pinned, I would only have the bishop defending. A lot of arrows, sorry. And then I could probably develop my queen and castle, but instead, what I elected to go for was this push right here. His knight's kind of in a nice square. It's got a lot of pressure on the central squares, and so I wanted to kick it. I figured if he took here, I would take. If he moved here, I was going to kick him back, and then banishing the knight to the h6 square seemed fitting to me and was a game I wanted to play. If he took here, I planned to just take with the knight because there's no threats here anymore. So it seemed like a pretty good move, and he did take, so I took with the knight. And then he played this move, and here I thought again for another 4 or 5 minutes. Really enjoyed rapid for this reason. But this is I think a poor move by black. I don't even know what the computer says. I'll look up the computer analysis afterwards. I just want to kind of talk through my thoughts on what I saw and what I liked. My first instinct was to take. I don't really see if I just play like a developing move, something like that, letting him take and double my pawns, I wasn't a fan of. Nor was I a fan of rerouting the bishop this way. I mean, it would have been okay, but then, so maybe looking at this twice, I remember in the game I took, but maybe if I developed the dark squared bishop, then he can take my dark squared bishop, and I didn't want to trade my dark squared bishop for a knight. Even though it's a monster knight, I like to try and hang on to my bishops as long as possible. So I think I just took here, and then with this nice idea of developing my queen, I'm okay with blocking my light squared bishop in now, because at this point I've determined that I'm going to castle queenside. I thought he would move all the way back, but he moves to the central square, and it's kind of a tricky move because he's expecting me to do something like this, to which he could try and win this pawn, but then there's some traps there where he could lose the pawn, but I think the queen's coming in quickly along with the dark squared bishop. I didn't want to mess around with that, so I thought, how can I stop him from attacking me when I queenside castle? So the first move I considered was knight to b3, which seems okay, except he can just except he can just take, right? And then I'm having to choose to open the A file, which I didn't really want to deal with, because after he pushes these pawns and brings his queen over, it's probably going to be a nightmare to try and defend. What I ended up doing is this weird b3 move, and it looks really weird, but the plan was fiend kettle my dark squared bishop, castle, get the castle x-raying the queen, and then have this massive kingside attack with my bishop staring. So as you can see, we're on move 10, and I'm pretty sure he's going to castle kingside, because I think he is determined that I'm going to castle queenside, and so he's trying to he's throwing everything into attacking me right now, and not so much king safety. So he attacks my knight, and I said great, because I planned on fiend kettling anyways, so I just defending my knight. So this move had me, this gave me a ton of confidence, because I feel like c5 on his part was a really poor move. He should have known. I mean, what else am I going to do here, right? Attacking this piece does nothing, because I'm easily going to defend it, and it helps me develop as well. So I gained tempo on him here. This move was interesting. He's just trying to challenge my center. It didn't bother me. I castled pretty quick. I didn't calculate. I didn't think after it takes, he doesn't really have much. So, but he does it anyways. And then right here, I sat and thought for another 5 minutes, because there's quite a bit to calculate here. If you take with the pawn, he's in an okay position, because this pawn is going to become an incredible weakness. So incredibly hard to defend. I mean, he's going to play one move and win it back, right? I mean, he's just got lots of ways to attack this pawn. So I didn't want to mess with that, and so I started calculating, what if queen takes, right? So if queen takes pawn, everything's good, but then he could play this move, right? He could play this tricky f6 move, which you have to be careful here, because now your queen's under attack, and you don't want to just abandon ship. And so if he played f6, I played queen takes pawn. If he played f6, I started calculating knight takes on e6, because then that would hit the queen. So then if he takes, I would take, he would take, I would take. So that looked pretty good to me. And aside from e6, he didn't have any other way. He had this move right here, bishop kicking, but then my queen's infiltrating, and he's not going to be able to castle queen or kingside. So queen takes pawn looked like a really good move to me, so I did it. To which he castled. So I think this was another really poor move. He didn't think about it at all. He only used 2 minutes of his 15. So I definitely recommend slow down when you're playing. Here I found a really nice tactic. I found same thing I was thinking of earlier. Knight takes. The reason that this is so strong is because, yes, the dark squared fiend kettle bishop on the queen side from way earlier is now staring directly at the g7 square with my queen. So I'm threatening mate in 1, right? And by taking this pawn, I'm threatening to capture his queen. So you either defend mate and lose your queen, or move your queen and get mated, right? So what I calculated was knight, let me see here, knight takes e6, and then queen takes here I thought was his best chance, because then I would queen trade out and probably take his dark squared bishop and just claim your doubled pawns on the king side is going to be a massive weakness, and once I push my pawns and put my rooks over here, I'm just going to mate you. These two pieces are on the sideline, they haven't even moved yet, and my light squared bishop can easily get into the game and stare at your pieces. or stare at your king side. So that was my plan if he decided to queen trade. If he decided to move the pawn up, my goal here was to take the queen. He takes my queen, and then take the hanging bishop because I'd taken the only defender from the bishop. So it was a really good move, a very pretty move too, because it comes with so many threats, right? Very pretty move. He played I don't understand this move. Bishop to e3. I think he was just trying to bait me into taking with the queen, so then he could take, or sorry, probably this is more accurate, so that he could take and just kind of equalize. No, that still sucks. Yeah, not a very good move on his part at all. So I just stepped out of the way and figured I was winning the queen here, but my opponent, I think, just realized he was done and gave me mate and won. So yeah, it was a really fun game. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it and kind of the thinking in my commentary. But more to come soon, and I hope all of you are having a great day and a great weekend. Till next time.